Road Rage. Chapter 1. As Jack's alarm blared its unwelcome wake-up call, he hit the snooze button with a thud, wishing away the reality that his brief foray into retirement was over. Thanks to life's unexpected turns, the dim morning light barely infiltrated his bedroom, casting a gloomy ambience that perfectly matched his mood. The day ahead was all too familiar. A lengthy commute to a job far removed from his past life in the corporate echelons, now replaced by the trials of managing a fast food outlet. Reflecting on his new reality in the mirror, Jack saw a man visibly marred by life's curveballs. The bitter taste of his divorce and the stark shift in his career path had left their mark, evident in the weary eyes that stared back at him. The morning commute was as tedious as ever. The city's roads were congested with an endless stream of vehicles, each driver navigating their own personal maze. Jack's car, a testament to his changed fortunes, moved at a snail's pace, part of the daily parade of frustration and impatience. Today's entertainment on the road was provided by a collision-turned-live broadcast. A young, flamboyant motorist, his sports car now sporting a new dent, was making the most of the situation by vlogging the entire incident. Camera in hand, he narrated the scene with exaggerated enthusiasm. "What's up, followers? You won't believe this. I'm here at the scene of a tragic encounter between Beauty and the Beast." The Beast in question, a well-loved minivan with a fresh battle scar, was manned by a mother who looked more amused than annoyed. She played along with the unfolding drama, her responses laced with sarcasm. "Make sure you get my good side, darling. Wouldn't want your fans to miss the real star of this show." Their banter continued, with the vlogger darting around, capturing every angle, his dramatic gestures and flamboyant commentary turning the mundane traffic incident into a spectacle. His followers were treated to a play-by-play of the argument, from the mother's witty comebacks to the vlogger's theatrical despair over his wounded vehicle. Jack, trapped in the congestion triggered by this impromptu roadside spectacle, felt his irritation mounting at this contemporary phenomenon, the ridiculousness of the scene. A minor traffic dispute evolving into an impromptu broadcast only exacerbated the traffic snarl as fellow drivers, armed with their smartphones, decelerated to record the unfolding drama. As the line of cars began to move, Jack left the live show behind, the echoes of the vlogger's voice gradually fading. The encounter had injected a brief moment of levity into his morning, a stark contrast to the usual monotony of his commute and the looming day at the fast food restaurant. Parking his car at the restaurant, Jack took a moment to collect himself, the weight of his responsibilities momentarily lifted by the morning's unexpected entertainment. His job, a stark reminder of how much his life had changed, awaited him. Yet, as he stepped out into the crisp morning air, Jack carried with him a slightly lighter heart, a small but significant victory against the backdrop of his daily grind. With a deep breath, Jack locked his car and made his way to the restaurant, ready to face whatever the day might throw at him, fortified by the unexpected reminder that sometimes life could still surprise him with moments of genuine amusement. Chapter 2. Despite the morning's distractions, Jack managed to arrive at work on time, a testament to his unwillingness to let anything further disrupt his already turbulent life. The fast food restaurant, a buzzing hub of activity even in the early hours, welcomed him with the familiar scent of frying oil and the cacophony of breakfast orders being shouted across the kitchen. Jack slipped into his managerial role with ease, a routine perfected over months of repetition. He navigated through the kitchen, offering a nod here, a word of encouragement there, all the while keeping a vigilant eye for anything amiss. It was in this orchestrated chaos that he found a semblance of control, a stark contrast to the unpredictability of his personal life. However, not all was smooth in the daily operations. Candy, a young employee known for her tardiness, rushed in through the back door, her arrival marked by the slam of the door and a flurry of apologies. Her breathlessness did little to mask the frustration Jack felt. a sentiment that had become all too familiar with each of her late entrances. "Candy, this is becoming a habit," Jack began, his voice a mix of reproach and weariness. "I understand life throws challenges our way, but we all have responsibilities here." Candy, her cheeks flushed from the rush, met his gaze with a mixture of defiance and desperation. "I'm trying, Jack. It's just... My mum, she's not well. Dementia. Every morning is a battle and I can't leave her alone until the nurse arrives." Jack's expression softened slightly, a reminder of his own struggles with life's unforeseen hardships. Yet the manager in him persisted. "I sympathize. Candy, truly, I do. But we all have our battles. You need to find a way to manage your time better. This can't continue." The conversation was cut short by the buzz of activity, leaving an unresolved tension hanging in the air. Jack turned away, signalling the end of their discussion, his mind already shifting to the next task. Later, as he moved through the restaurant, checking on customers and ensuring the smooth flow of service, snippets of conversation reached his ears. A group of his employees, gathered in a corner during a brief lull, were whispering among themselves. The words "grumpy old man" and "wife left him" floated to him, each syllable a sharp jab at his pride. Jack bristled at the gossip, a mix of anger and embarrassment coursing through him. They had it all wrong. His marriage hadn't ended over infidelity or abandonment. It was the void that retirement had left in his life, a void that had widened into an insurmountable gap between him and his wife, ultimately leading to her departure. Feeling the weight of their judgment and the sting of their misunderstanding, Jack retreated to the back office, a small, cluttered space that offered a temporary refuge from the front lines. Here, amidst the paperwork and the faint hum of the kitchen equipment, he allowed himself a moment of vulnerability, a rare acknowledgement of the loneliness that gnawed at him. The day pressed on, each hour a relentless march of orders, complaints, and the never-ending demands of management. Jack found little solace in the rhythm of work, each task a reminder of the life he had once known and the stark reality of his present circumstances. As the shift ended and the employees filtered out, their laughter and chatter a stark contrast to his own silent contemplation, Jack was left to close up, a solitary figure amidst the detritus of the day. The restaurant, now quiet, seemed to echo with the remnants of the day's tensions, a mirror to Jack's internal turmoil. Stepping out into the cool evening air, Jack locked the restaurant behind him, the click of the lock a definitive end to another day. The drive home was quiet, a time for reflection and perhaps a hope for a tomorrow less burdened by the weight of misunderstandings and the relentless pace of life. Chapter 3. The morning greeted Jack with its usual blend of reluctance and routine. As he merged onto the congested highway, the day's first light did little to dispel the heaviness that settled over him, a tangible reminder of the grind that lay ahead. Today, however, the monotonous flow of traffic would serve as the backdrop for an encounter that would momentarily disrupt the tedium of Jack's daily commute. As he navigated through the sluggish stream of vehicles, a compact car darted from lane to lane with a reckless agility that caught Jack's attention. Its driver, a middle-aged woman with an air of determined impatience, seemed intent on weaving her way through the traffic maze as quickly as possible. Jack watched, a mixture of annoyance and begrudging respect growing within him. The compact car signaled to merge into his lane, a move that would place it directly in front of him. Something about the driver's brazenness struck a chord with Jack, igniting a spark of defiance that he hadn't felt in a long time. In a split-second decision, driven more by impulse than reason, he edged his car forward, closing the gap she aimed to occupy, a silent declaration of his unwillingness to yield. The woman, undeterred, accelerated and squeezed her car into the narrowing space, her vehicle's rear barely missing the front of Jack's sedan. As she completed her maneuver, she shot a look through her rearview mirror, her expression a mix of triumph and challenge. In response, Jack felt his temper flare. He couldn't hear her, but her mouthed words and dismissive wave were clear enough. It was a provocation he found hard to ignore. Fueled by a rush of indignation, Jack sped up, pulling alongside her car. Lowering his window, he shouted, "Nice driving." "What's your other car?" "A broomstick?" The woman glanced over, a smirk playing on her lips, clearly unbothered by Jack's attempt at an insult. Instead of engaging further, she simply accelerated, leaving Jack to stew in his frustration as he fell back in the flow of traffic. Moments later, Jack's irritation was compounded by a sudden thud from his car. A sharp jolt ran through the steering wheel, a telltale sign that his brief departure from the asphalt in his duel for road supremacy had resulted in a punctured tire. Cursing under his breath, he navigated to the shoulder, the hum of passing cars a constant reminder of the folly of his actions. As he set about changing the tire, the absurdity of the situation wasn't lost on him. Here he was, a man already burdened by the complications of life, now stranded on the side of the road over a petty squabble. It was a moment of clarity, albeit one tinged with the frustration of his own making. The task of replacing the tire was laborious, a physical manifestation of the morning's frustrations. With each turn of the wrench, Jack's irritation gave way to reflection. The encounter, as trivial as it might have seemed, was a stark reminder of the pent-up anger he carried within him, a byproduct of his dissatisfaction with the direction his life had taken. By the time the spare tire was securely in place, the sun had climbed higher in the sky, casting a warm glow that contrasted sharply with the coolness of Jack's mood. He wiped his hands on a rag, the physical dirt removed far more easily than the residue of his anger. Driving away from the scene, Jack's thoughts lingered on the encounter. It was a confrontation born out of frustration, a momentary lapse in judgment that had led to unnecessary hardship. Yet within it lay a lesson, a reminder of the importance of maintaining composure, even in the face of provocation. As Jack resumed his journey, the traffic seemed less oppressive, the road ahead a bit clearer. The day's challenges awaited, but for now he was content to navigate them with a renewed sense of calm, the morning's altercation a distant memory fading in the rearview mirror. Chapter 4. Jack arrived at the restaurant a few minutes late, a rarity for someone who prided himself on punctuality. The morning's unexpected detour had set him back, both in time and in spirit. As he pushed through the back door, the immediate buzz of the kitchen and the familiar smells of the restaurant enveloped him. But today they did little to comfort him. His entrance did not go unnoticed. A chorus of suppressed snickers and exchanged glances greeted him, the staff clearly aware of his unusual tardiness. Candy, ever the bold one, didn't miss the opportunity to comment, "Tough morning, Jack? Or is it just the universe telling you to take a day off?" Her words, meant in jest, landed with an unintended weight. Jack felt a flush of embarrassment mixed with irritation. It was one thing to battle unforeseen mishaps on the road, quite another to face insubordination from his team. "Enough," he snapped, more sharply than he intended. "Let's keep the focus on work, shall we?" Candy's smile faltered, and she turned away, muttering an apology. Jack watched her go, a pang of guilt momentarily softening his frustration. He had not meant to be so harsh, but the stresses of the morning, compounded by the ongoing challenges of managing the restaurant, had left him with a short fuse. The day unfolded in a blur of activity, with Jack moving mechanically through his duties. He issued orders, checked inventory, and dealt with a minor dispute between two employees over shift assignments. Yet, his mind was elsewhere, replaying the morning's events and his reaction to Candy's teasing. In a rare moment of quiet, Jack retreated to his office, a small, cluttered space that offered a semblance of privacy. He sank into his chair, the events of the morning replaying in his mind. The encounter with the woman on the road, his subsequent tire mishap, and now his sharp response to Candy, all seemed to highlight a growing bitterness within him, a departure from the man he once was. Jack's reflection was interrupted by a soft knock on the door. It was Candy, hesitant but determined. "Can we talk?" she asked. her voice laced with a mix of defiance and vulnerability. Jack nodded, gesturing for her to take a seat. The air between them was charged with the tension of their earlier exchange, but beneath it lay a mutual understanding of the pressures they both faced. "I know I can be difficult," Candy began, "with my lateness and all. But I'm really trying. It's just hard, you know, with my mum and everything." Jack listened, his earlier irritation giving way to empathy. He had been so caught up in his own frustrations that he had failed to see the struggles of those around him. "I understand," he admitted, "and I'm sorry for snapping at you earlier. It's been a tough morning for both of us, it seems." The conversation that followed was a turning point, not just for Jack and Candy, but for Jack's approach to his role as a manager. They spoke candidly about the challenges they faced, both at work and in their personal lives, and discussed ways to support each other moving forward. As Candy left the office, Jack felt a weight lift from his shoulders. The day's trials had brought him to a moment of introspection, revealing the depth of his own dissatisfaction and the impact it had on his interactions with others. The realization that he didn't have to face his challenges alone, that understanding and empathy could bridge the gap between frustration and cooperation, was a revelation. Jack resolved to carry this lesson forward, not just in his dealings with Candy, but with the entire team. As the day drew to a close, Jack found himself looking forward to the days ahead with a renewed sense of purpose. The road to personal and professional fulfillment was long and fraught with obstacles, but for the first time in a long while, Jack felt equipped to navigate it with patience and understanding. Chapter 5. The dawn of the new day brought with it a sense of cautious optimism for Jack. The previous day's reflections had instilled in him a renewed sense of purpose, a determination to approach his role and his relationships with more empathy and understanding. However, the road, both literal and metaphorical, was still a source of contention, a battleground for his resolve. As Jack merged onto the highway, the traffic seemed to mock his newfound resolve, presenting him once again with the chaos and frustration of his daily commute. Amidst the sea of cars, a familiar compact car weaved through the traffic with the same reckless abandon he had encountered before. It was Lily, her driving as assertive as ever, a stark reminder of their previous confrontation. Today, Jack felt a surge of competitiveness rather than anger. He remembered the feeling of annoyance her driving had caused him. But now, armed with a fresh perspective, he decided to engage in a different manner. He didn't want to risk another flat tire or a pointless altercation, but the playful side of him saw an opportunity for a harmless tactical maneuver. As Lily attempted to maneuver her car ahead of his, Jack accelerated, keeping pace with her but staying just out of reach. It was a delicate dance, a game of speed and timing, with Jack fully aware of the need to keep it safe and respectful. Lily seemed to recognize the challenge, her attempts to overtake him more calculated than aggressive, a silent acknowledgement of their unspoken competition. The traffic began to lighten as they approached a major intersection, known for its long traffic lights and the strategic advantage it offered in their impromptu race. Jack, now slightly ahead, timed his approach to the amber light perfectly. He decelerated just enough to pass through the intersection as the light turned red, leaving Lily caught on the other side. As he glanced in the rearview mirror, Jack saw Lily's reaction. There was no anger or frustration, only a surprised acknowledgement and a begrudging smile. It was a moment of vindication for Jack, but not for the reasons one might expect. He hadn't just bested Lily in their little game. He had managed to engage in a competitive yet friendly manner, a far cry from the anger-fueled encounters of the past. Feeling a sense of accomplishment, Jack continued his drive to the restaurant, his spirits lifted by the morning's encounter. It was a small victory, but it represented a significant shift in his approach to dealing with frustration and conflict. Arriving at work, Jack carried with him the lighter mood from his commute. He greeted his employees with a newfound warmth, his interactions marked by a genuine interest in their well-being. The change did not go unnoticed. The atmosphere in the restaurant shifted, the staff responding to his positive energy with increased enthusiasm and cooperation. Throughout the day, Jack found himself reflecting on the morning's events. The playful competition with Lily had not only provided a momentary escape from the monotony of his commute, but had also served as a reminder of the importance of perspective. It was possible to find moments of joy and connection even in the most unlikely situations. As the day wound down, Jack realized that the lessons learned on the road could be applied to his life in broader terms. Challenges and conflicts were inevitable, but the manner in which he chose to engage with them could transform them into opportunities for growth and understanding. With a sense of contentment, Jack closed up the restaurant, looking forward to the days ahead with a sense of optimism. The road, both to work and through life, seemed a little less daunting, a path ripe with possibilities for those willing to navigate it with an open heart and a playful spirit. Chapter 6. The next morning, Jack set out for work with a lightness in his step, still buoyed by the previous day's positive turn of events. The sun was just beginning to cast its warm glow over the city, promising a day filled with potential. As he merged onto the highway, Jack found himself actually looking forward to the commute, curious to see if he would encounter Lily again. Like clockwork, amidst the sea of morning commuters, Jack spotted the familiar compact car darting through traffic with skilled precision. Lily was at the helm, her focus unwavering as she navigated the congested roads. Today, their competitive camaraderie from the day before seemed to have set the stage for a new challenge, a silent agreement to engage in a friendly duel of wits and speed. As they approached a notoriously busy intersection, the two found themselves side by side, waiting for the light to turn green. Jack glanced over, catching Lily's eye. A mutual nod served as the unspoken signal for the challenge to begin. The air was thick with anticipation, a stark contrast to the frustration that typically characterized Jack's morning commute. When the light changed, both cars surged forward, engines roaring in harmony as they jockeyed for position. It was a comical race, more about the thrill of the challenge than any real desire to outdo one another. Jack and Lily maneuvered through the traffic with a newfound respect for each other's driving skills. Their rivalry transformed into a source of amusement rather than irritation. However, as they neared the main intersection, the scene of their previous day's competition, Jack was determined to replicate his earlier victory. He calculated his moves, aiming to position his car to block Lily's advance subtly. But Lily, having learned from their last encounter, anticipated his strategy. With a deft maneuver, she managed to slip ahead of Jack, securing her position as they approached the traffic lights. As the traffic lights flickered to amber, Lily accelerated, slipping through the intersection just in time, while Jack, momentarily delayed by a sluggish pickup truck, found himself at a crossroads of decision and consequence. With determination fueling his actions, Jack maneuvered around the pickup, his resolve hardened by the prospect of falling behind. The light had transitioned to red, a silent admonition of his impending decision, yet the momentum carried him forward, past the point of no return, through the intersection. In her rearview mirror, Lily caught sight of Jack's bold maneuver, her expression a mix of amusement and disbelief. Jack, carried away by a mix of adrenaline and competitive spirit, let out a triumphant howl, reveling in the momentary victory against the odds. However, his celebration was cut short as the unmistakable flash of police lights began to fill his mirrors, signalling an abrupt end to his pursuit. The police car, with its steady closing approach, signaled not just the conclusion of their impromptu race, but also the beginning of Jack's immediate reckoning. As the officer approached his car, Jack prepared to explain himself, hoping for understanding but ready to accept the repercussions of his actions. The morning's race, while exhilarating, was a reminder that every choice carried consequences, a lesson Jack would not soon forget. Chapter 7. The following morning, Jack's commute was shrouded in an uncharacteristic silence. The thrill of the previous day's escapade was tempered by the sobering experience of being pulled over, a stark reminder of the fine line between harmless fun and responsibility. As he drove, the sky overhead mirrored his introspection, dark clouds gathering with the promise of a storm on the horizon. By the time Jack neared the highway, the first drops of rain had begun to fall, quickly escalating into a torrential downpour. Visibility dropped, and the traffic slowed to a cautious crawl. The usual frenetic pace of the morning commute was replaced by a tense vigilance, each driver isolated in their battle against the elements. It was in this downpour that Jack spotted Lily's compact car ahead of him. Today, there was no trace of their competitive banter, replaced instead by a shared struggle against the worsening weather. Jack found himself worrying for her safety, the rivalry that had defined their recent encounters giving way to concern. As they inched forward, a sudden commotion ahead caught Jack's attention. An ambitious driver, attempting to overtake the slower traffic, had lost control, skidding across the wet road and crashing into the barrier. The scene unfolded in slow motion, a stark reminder of the dangers that lurked beneath the thrill of the road. Without a second thought, Jack and Lily, along with a few other motorists, pulled over to assist. The competitive edge that had once spurred their interactions was now replaced by a unified effort to help. Together, they braved the pouring rain, approaching the wrecked vehicle to check on the driver and call for emergency services. The accident had a sobering effect on the onlookers, a poignant reminder of their vulnerability. As they waited for the ambulance, Jack and Lily found shelter under a shared umbrella, the storm around them a fitting backdrop to their truce. Their conversation, initially cautious, gradually revealed a mutual respect and understanding that had been forged through their unique morning battles. Lily, her usual spirited self somewhat subdued by the morning's events, shared her perspective on the daily commute, her challenges, and her reasons for always being in a rush. Jack listened, realizing how little he knew about the woman he had viewed as a rival. In turn, he opened up about his own struggles, the recent changes in his life, and how the morning races had become a rare source of enjoyment. As the rain continued to pour down, washing away the remnants of their rivalry, Jack and Lily discovered a shared resilience. They worked together to direct traffic around the accident site and comfort the shaken driver until help arrived. The ordeal had unexpectedly brought out the best in them, transforming their relationship from adversaries. When the emergency services took over and the immediate danger had passed, Jack and Lily returned to their cars, the rain beginning to ease. The storm had disrupted their morning, but had also cleared the air between them, revealing the common humanity that lay beneath their competitive facades. Driving away from the scene, Jack felt a profound sense of gratitude. The day had started with apprehension but ended with a newfound camaraderie with Lily. The storm had not only brought them together, but it also offered Jack a deeper understanding of himself and the connections that could arise in the most unexpected circumstances. As he made his way to the restaurant, the skies began to clear and a sense of calm settled over him. The events of the morning had provided a much-needed perspective, a reminder of the importance of empathy, cooperation, and the unexpected friendships that could emerge from the challenges of everyday life. Chapter 8. Jack arrived at the restaurant, the morning's unexpected turn of events having delayed his journey. The storm had cleared, leaving behind a sense of renewal that permeated the air. Jack entered the establishment with a contemplative mood, his thoughts still lingering on the morning's rescue and the newfound connection with Lily. The staff greeted him with curious glances, sensing a change. Jack offered a brief explanation, omitting the details of his and Lily's involvement in aiding the crash victim, focusing instead on the traffic delays caused by the storm. However, there was an unmistakable shift in his demeanor, a softening that did not go unnoticed by his team. As the day progressed, Jack found himself reflecting on the events that had unfolded since his encounters with Lily began. Each interaction, from their initial antagonistic exchanges to their cooperative efforts during the storm, had gradually shifted his perspective on life and the daily irritations that once seemed insurmountable. One of the first tasks of the day brought Jack face to face with Candy, who approached him with a hesitancy born out of their previous confrontations. She was late again, but this time, Jack's reaction was markedly different. Instead of the frustration and admonishment that Candy had braced herself for, Jack greeted her with a calmness that took her by surprise. "Candy, before you say anything, I want to talk about your schedule," Jack began, his tone devoid of the reprimand she had expected. "I've been thinking about your situation with your mom, and I believe we can come up with a solution that works for both of us." Candy listened in disbelief as Jack outlined a proposal to adjust her working hours, offering her the flexibility she needed to care for her mother without compromising her responsibilities at the restaurant. The offer was unexpected, a gesture of understanding and support that Candy had not anticipated from her stern manager. The discussion that followed was open and productive, a departure from their previous interactions. Candy expressed her gratitude, promising to make the most of the accommodation Jack had extended. As she left Jack's office, a weight lifted from her shoulders, replaced by a newfound respect. The rest of the day saw Jack implementing small but significant changes in his management style. He took the time to engage with his staff, inquiring about their well-being and offering support where needed. The atmosphere in the restaurant shifted, the team responding to Jack's leadership with increased motivation and collaboration. Chapter 9. The morning light broke through the curtains, heralding the start of a new day. But for Jack, the ritual of the morning commute had lost its luster. The first day Lily didn't appear on their shared stretch of freeway, Jack chalked it up to an anomaly. Yet, as her absence stretched into a second, then a third day, concern began to gnaw at him. Their rivalry, filled with competitive zeal and unspoken camaraderie, had become the pulse of his mornings. Without it, the drive felt empty, the road just a path to traverse rather than a battleground to conquer. Jack's co-workers noticed the shift in him. The man who would stride into the office, animated by tales of his morning escapades, now settled into his work with a quiet resignation. The spark of challenge that once lit his eyes seemed dimmed, replaced by a contemplative gaze that often drifted to the world beyond the office windows. On the fourth morning of Lily's absence, Jack found himself stuck behind a fender bender on the arterial road that led to the freeway. Two drivers, their vehicles barely kissed, were engaged in a theatrical dispute that bordered on the absurd. One gesticulated wildly, his arms flailing like a conductor leading an invisible orchestra, while the other stood with arms crossed, her expression unimpressed, as if she'd expected nothing less from the morning. The Jack of old would have fumed at the delay, cursed the unnecessary theatrics that added minutes to his drive. But today, he watched the scene unfold with an unexpected detachment. A chuckle escaped him, the situation a ridiculous reminder of the trivialities that once would have soured his mood for the day. In that moment, Jack realized the profound impact Lily's absence had on him. It wasn't just the thrill of their morning races that he missed. It was the way those shared moments had shifted his perspective, had made him appreciate the journey. Without their playful rivalry, the daily grind had reverted to being just that. A grind. Yet here he was, finding humour in a situation that would have once sparked his ire. As the drivers eventually returned to their cars, their dispute unresolved but abandoned in favour of continuing their days, Jack reflected on this change within him. Lily had brought more than just competition to his mornings. She had brought a lightness, a way of seeing the world that transcended the confines of their vehicles and the freeway. Driving away from the scene of the fender bender, Jack carried with him a renewed sense of purpose. The absence of their daily duels had left a void, but it had also instilled in him a deeper appreciation for the moments of connection and joy that life offered, often in the most unexpected of circumstances. The rest of the drive to work was contemplative, Jack's mind wandering to thoughts of Lily, where she might be if she was okay. The concern for her well-being was genuine, a testament to the bond that had formed between them, unseen but palpable. As he pulled into his parking spot, Jack made a silent vow to reach out, to bridge the gap that the absence of their commutes had widened. The rivalry might have sparked their connection, but it was the underlying friendship that had enriched Jack's life, changing his perspective not just on the morning drive, but on the world around him. Chapter 10. Days turned into weeks, and the absence of Lily from Jack's morning commute became a silent constant, a void where once lay a source of unexpected joy and challenge. Each morning, as Jack merged onto the highway, a part of him hoped for a glimpse of the familiar compact car, a sign that the unique camaraderie they shared could be reignited. But as time passed, the reality settled in. Some encounters, however impactful, might remain fleeting memories, markers of a time when life seemed a bit more vibrant. In the midst of this realization, Jack's approach to his daily routine underwent a subtle transformation. The lessons learned from his brief but significant connection with Lily had taken root. He began to view his commute not as a tiresome necessity, but as an opportunity to observe, reflect, and appreciate the myriad lives intersecting with his own, even if only through the shared experience of navigating the morning traffic. One particular morning, as Jack merged onto the freeway, his attention was caught by an SUV attempting to weave its way through the traffic ahead. The vehicle's attempts were met with the typical morning rush resistance. Other motorists, encased in their pre-caffeine doldrums, were unwilling to yield. Recognizing the familiar struggle, Jack, perhaps softened by the absence of his usual morning adversary, decided to let the SUV cut in front of him. However, the SUV's behavior quickly veered from the typical to the peculiar. Instead of simply taking the lead, it executed a series of maneuvers that seemed deliberately aimed at positioning itself beside Jack. The deliberate nature of its movements piqued Jack's curiosity, a spark of intrigue in the otherwise dull canvas of his commute. As the SUV finally managed to align itself with Jack's car, the anticipation of an unknown intention grew. Motorists in the city were not known for their camaraderie, and Jack braced himself for an exchange that could range from a grateful nod to an unwarranted reprimand. But nothing could have prepared him for what happened next. As the SUV executed its final maneuver to pull alongside him, Jack's heart raced with anticipation and a touch of apprehension. The window of the SUV began to lower, revealing the last person Jack expected to see, Lily, steering the wheel of the imposing vehicle with her characteristic grace. Her presence was like the sun breaking through the clouds of his recent gloom. "Jack!" Lily's voice, infused with excitement, cut through the ambient noise of the freeway. "Fancy seeing you here." Jack, momentarily stunned into silence by her sudden appearance, quickly found his voice. "Lily, is that really you?" he shouted back, his tone a mix of disbelief and joy. "Where have you been hiding?" The Mini got totaled, and the brooms no good in bad weather. Lily replied with a laugh, gesturing to her new SUV. "Oh my God! Are you okay?" Jack shouted in surprise, but couldn't help but chuckle at the broom reference, a reminder of their first encounter. "I'm good. Did you miss me?" Lily asked with a tone that spoke to her own longing. "Every single morning," Jack admitted, the honesty of his words more heartfelt than he'd intended to reveal amidst the roar of traffic. "I thought I'd lost my favourite rival." Lily's smile widened, her eyes sparkling with the promise of renewed adventures. "You're not getting rid of me that easily, Jack. I hope you've been practicing. You're going to need it." As the traffic inched forward with the sluggishness of a sleepy snail, Jack seized the moment, a plan forming in his mind. "Hey, Lily," he called out, leaning towards his open window. "How about we upgrade our communication? You know, in case one of us decides to switch vehicles again." Lily, catching the hint of sarcasm, couldn't help but chuckle. "Sure, Jack, because yelling across cars is the peak of modern communication," she quipped back, rolling her eyes theatrically. With a flourish worthy of a stage magician, she scribbled her number on a scrap of paper, crumpling it into a makeshift ball. "Catch," she yelled, tossing it through the small gap that separated their vehicles. Jack, with reflexes honed by their morning duels, caught it deftly, his victory smile quickly dissolving into laughter as the paper ball bounced off his nose before landing in his lap. "Smooth," Lily laughed, as Jack, red-faced but grinning, waved the crumpled trophy. "Welcome to the 21st century, Jack. Let's not make a habit of this method, though. I'm not always this accurate." As Jack unfolded the crumpled piece of paper, smoothing it against the steering wheel to reveal Lily's hastily scrawled number, a sense of contentment washed over him. From the unexpected beginnings of their rivalry, sparked by a moment of road rage, to the deep camaraderie that had formed between them, Jack's journey had been one of unexpected transformation. Once a man who viewed his morning commute as nothing more than a necessary slog through traffic, Jack had found in Lily a reason to look forward to the dawn of each new day. Their playful competitions and shared challenges had not only brightened his mornings, but had also shifted his perspective on life. Jack had learned to find joy in the unexpected, to appreciate the connections that could form in the most unlikely of circumstances. Lily, with her vibrant spirit and fearless driving, had become more than just a rival. She was a friend who challenged him to be better, to embrace the spontaneity of life with a sense of adventure. Their relationship, born out of a fleeting moment of frustration on the road, had grown into a bond that transcended the confines of the freeway. Now, as Jack looked ahead to the future, he saw a path filled with possibility. The exchange of phone numbers, a simple act facilitated by the slow crawl of traffic, symbolized the beginning of a new chapter in their journey. No longer confined to the brief encounters of their morning commutes, Jack and Lily had the opportunity to explore the depths of their friendship, to discover new avenues of connection beyond the asphalt battleground where they had first met. As Jack started his car, the traffic finally beginning to move, he couldn't help but smile at the thought of what lay ahead. The open road, once a place of solitary reflection, now held the promise of shared adventures and laughter. With Lily by his side, Jack felt ready to face whatever challenges and joys the future might bring. Their story, springing from a moment of road rage, had evolved into a testament to the power of human connection, a reminder that even the most mundane moments could give rise to friendships that change us for the better. From a jaded commuter to a man invigorated by the prospect of each new day was a journey of self-discovery, fueled by the unlikely camaraderie that had blossomed beside him on the freeway. As the cityscape blurred past, Jack realized that the road rage that had once sparked their rivalry was now just a footnote in their story. A beginning that had led to a bond built on mutual respect, laughter, and the unexpected joy of finding a kindred spirit in the chaos of the morning commute.
If you like this audiobook, please like and subscribe and leave a comment.